Modern life. Between careers, kids, and health, it can be mayhem. That's why we're here. I'm Dr. Lisa Varghese-Kroll.
And I'm Dr. Lonray Falusi. We're physicians, moms, and longtime friends who break it all down for you. Wondering how to juggle all the balls and still stay sane? Looking for advice but don't want to be overwhelmed?
Curious about how to make the most out of life for your family but enjoy it at the same time? You're in the right place. Welcome to Health and Home with the Hippocratic hosts.
On this episode, we're asking, why do women have more ACL injuries than men? What is the biological explanation for this bizarre phenomenon? We're giving you the inside scoop. Hey, Lise.
Hey, Lon. We've had a couple of solo episodes with wonderful guests. Definitely go back and listen to episodes 68 and 69 if you missed them, because we chatted with some fantastic physicians, but it's so nice to be back together again.
Yes, hello. No one understands as fully that chocolate is necessary for life.
Oh, don't worry. Lon, you can always count on me.
I know, you're there for me.
I don't think we've ever shared on this podcast. What is your favorite chocolate bar?
Ooh, it's such a great question. I love chocolate bars that have like chili powder or chili peppers in them. Vosges makes a really great one that I love. Something about that sweetness with the spiciness is so good. So there's that highbrow chocolate bar that I love, and Snickers. I love a good Snickers.
Who doesn't? Vosges also does a chocolate curry bar, which is amazing. Oh
yes.
My gosh.
So good.
But I have
so
to
good.
say, my favorite is definitely the Coffee Crisp, which, as you know, is a Canadian chocolate bar that was the most coveted Halloween candy for us growing up. When my brother and cousin and I would spread out our loot after trick-or-treating and start trading, one Coffee Crisp bar was always worth like 7 of anything else.
I love that you have a mini economy going on.
We absolutely did. Oh my gosh, there was a Federal Reserve setting values. Okay, I mean, this was serious business, man. Okay, I'm not giving away my Coffee Crisp for just anything. I missed the Coffee Crisp so much my first few years living in the US, but now, thank goodness for the internet, which will deliver them to my door. And does on a regular basis. I don't know how they show up here, but I mean, they're here. Someone's got to eat them.
It would be rude not to eat them. It would be such a waste.
It would hurt Amazon's feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And we cannot do that, right?
No.
Oh, yeah. Nutrition, schmutrition. Forget everything we've ever discussed on this show about eating healthy foods if the right chocolate is in front of you.
Exactly. It's all about moderation. A large salad and a little chocolate.
I think I'm going to get that embroidered on something.
And I'll buy it, okay? It'll be your side gig. Very successful. So today we're talking about ACL injuries. And frankly, the ACL is a sore subject for both of us, okay? Pun intended. For me, it's because I had a partial ACL tear on our med school ski trip, second year.
I remember that.
I know. It was a beautiful day, cold and crisp, bright blue skies, perfect amount of snow on the slopes. The hot chocolate had been extra creamy that morning. And it was only the second run of the first day when I accidentally took a wrong turn and ended up on a run with moguls. Listen, I am not a skilled enough skier to navigate moguls, okay? The moguls navigated me. I ended up taking a nasty fall and being transported down the slope strapped to a ski patrol team sled. It was humiliating enough for me to beg our fellow classmates to remember me as I was. Several appointments, a weekend spent stuck in the lodge while all my friends skied, and an MRI later, I was diagnosed with a partial ACL tear. Now, I was lucky that I could still walk and do my daily activities, so I proceeded to go the next 14 years without skiing because I could not risk rupturing my ACL fully and having to go through surgery and rehab. There's no time for rehab and residency, even when your residency is in rehab medicine.
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on.
Bad about that.
Oh man, my knees are aching just listening and reminiscing about that.
I have a little PTSD about this whole thing. It's very triggering.
Right. Or maybe my knees are aching just because that's also been my baseline over years. As a teenager, I started getting knee pain in the front of my knee. It was diagnosed with patellofemoral syndrome, which is just a fancy way of saying your kneecap doesn't really track perfectly up and down. It kind of swings around different places. It just gets a little confused. Some of that is just, imbalance of like thigh muscles on one side versus the other, maybe. But I loved running in college and med school. That became like the exercise that I really enjoyed, especially running outside in the
Mhm.
fresh air. I did not think about things like strength training when you suddenly just decide to start running on concrete several times a week. And of course, that misalignment worsened over time. Um, and I ended up with some, like laxity, some looseness in my knees. And then I had a bad fall about 7 years ago. Actually chasing my youngest or my oldest child, who was only about a year and a half at the time. And yes, I still guilt trip her about this.
Of course.
Um, but
She should
with that,
expect nothing less.
exactly. Oh, it's gonna be in her like wedding
Yeah.
slideshow. But with that fall, I overstretched my MCL. It's not my ACL, but another ligament in my knee, and overstretched my patellar tendon. And that led to a super loose knee. I ended up having a super complicated surgery. Right before the surgery, there was a fellow in training who came with the surgeon and was like, "Oh yeah, so what's up with your knee?" And then he took my kneecap and just started like moving around, and he was like mortified. So that solidified for me, yes, we are doing the right thing. But
Yeah,
the
it's never a
surgery,
good thing when as a patient you're special.
oh
That
my
like just
gosh,
as
no.
physicians, we will let you know that is not a good thing
It's
when
not a good thing.
when you're
He wanted
fascinating.
to right, he took a video of how
Oh my
loose my knee
gosh,
was
I remember that.
for teaching purposes. Yeah, I was like, "This is not great." But anyway, the surgery involved a ligament replacement, and they had to, like, cut into bone and reattach parts of my knee to help the kneecap track better. So it took about 6 months of physical therapy after the surgery to kinda start getting back to normal, but sadly, running is no longer an option as a regular exercise. Unless I'm running to get that last piece of chocolate in the pantry, then yes, I will run
The power comes out of nowhere.
out of
It's the
nowhere.
motivation, you know? I mean, that's
Yes.
what it all comes down to. So, not only have we both been knee patients, we are both women. And as we mentioned, I'm a rehab medicine specialist or physiatrist. My specialty is physical medicine and rehabilitation, and sports injuries are a significant component of what we see. So, we're well positioned to talk about this.
Mhm. It's really a strange thing that females are more prone to ACL injuries than males. Women tear their ACLs 2 to 8 times more often than men. But this whole phenomenon speaks a little to why I enjoy biology so much. Human anatomy is so intricate and so fascinating.
It really is. And knowledge is power. So, when we know why things happen, we're better able to prevent some bad outcomes.
Exactly. So let's start with what the ACL is. It's the anterior cruciate ligament, and it's a key stabilizing ligament in the knee. It runs diagonally through the knee joint and connects your tibia, which is your shin bone, to your femur, which is your thigh bone. In layman's terms, it stops your shin bone from sliding out in front of your thigh bone, and it gives the knee stability when it rotates.
And there's also a PCL, or posterior cruciate ligament, which also runs diagonally through the knee joint and makes an X with the ACL. PCLs are generally stronger than ACLs and are therefore injured much less often.
So, Lise, why do women have more ACL injuries than men?
Well, Lon, biologically female joints are looser and more mobile than biologic males. This can be a good thing. This is why women tend to be more flexible, and it's an asset in pregnancy when a woman's body needs to expand in a relatively short span of time. Women also tend to have less muscle mass than men, which can lead to more instability around joints like the knee.
And estrogen also affects ligaments. It makes them less stiff or more lax, which can increase the risk of injury. And there are studies showing that women can be at higher risk of an ACL injury depending on where they are in their menstrual cycle. So, just before ovulation, when estrogen levels are their highest, ACL injuries may be more likely. So, more research really needs to be done on this, but we'll link to a literature review on this in our show notes at hippocratichost.com. There are also other theories, including sex differences in the size of the pelvis and the femoral notch, which is in the thigh bone. But the evidence for these is less compelling.
So, what happens if you do injure your ACL? For minor injuries, a short course of a knee brace and physical therapy may be enough. But a complete ACL tear will usually not heal on its own due to limited blood supply to the ligament. So in that case, you'll need surgery in which a donor tendon or ligament from another part of your leg will be used to replace it.
Yeah, and recovery time after surgery is typically 9 to 12 months, and you're at increased risk of a second ACL injury after you've had a first one. In our show notes at hippocratichost.com, we'll link to a study that showed that the risk of a second ACL injury is 6 times higher after a first one, and that after one ACL injury, females may be at greater risk of injuring the opposite ACL than males are.
Wow. So, knowing this, what can you do to decrease your risk of an ACL injury? Firstly, practice good technique. It's always best to work with a coach or a trainer to make sure that you have good form so that you can stop injuries before they occur. Prevention is better than any cure.
Next, make sure that you're strengthening all the muscle groups evenly. I wish this podcast existed back when I was running and not paying
Seriously.
any attention to muscle groups. We all have a tendency to want to repeat the exercises that are easiest for us, but if they're easy, we probably need them the least. Don't just work out your quads. When it comes to the ACL, make sure you're also paying attention to your hamstrings and your core. And when it comes to preventing any injury, a full body toning plan is best for long term health. It doesn't have to be anything too ambitious, but aiming to target each muscle group at least once over the course of a week is a good goal to start with.
And be aware that ACL injuries are most common in activities that require jumping and pivoting, such as basketball, soccer, lacrosse, and skiing. Lon, I don't know if you heard about that girl in our med school class who had to be transported down the slope in a ski patrol team sled.
Oh
I
my
mean, probably
gosh.
some urban legend. I
Oh,
mean.
yeah. Couldn't have happened.
Anyway, when landing from a jump, it's best to land with your knees bent and your core engaged, as that puts less pressure on your ACL than landing with your legs straight.
And wear good shoes. Inappropriate footwear absorbs less impact, which means that impact instead has to be taken by your bones and ligaments. Shoes that don't fit well can also allow your feet to roll, which can really strain ligaments from your ankles on up.
And next, make sure that you get enough sleep and good nutrition. It
Hmm.
might sound basic, but when you're tired, you're more prone to all types of injury, not just ACL tears. And when you're not eating well, your body doesn't have the fuel it needs to repair small injuries before they become big ones. We joke about chocolate, but eating the rainbow and limiting processed foods are key to making sure that your body can serve you as long as possible. So that's our show for today. Thank you, as always, everyone, for listening and for all your support. What burning questions about health or parenting do you have? We would love to hear from you. Hit us up on social media. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and other major social media platforms, and subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, because reviewing helps other people like you find the show. And if you'd like to support us with a monthly donation, just go to our website at hippocratichost.com and click on the Become a Friend of the Show button. We'll be forever grateful. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to Health at Home with the Hippocratic hosts. Remember that all views expressed here are our own, not our employers, and all content is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice, nor the establishment of a doctor-patient relationship. Always consult your own physician or healthcare team for any medical issues.
If you enjoyed this episode, please rate us, subscribe, and tell a friend. And check out our website at www.hippocratichosts.com for show notes on this and all our episodes. Can't wait to chat with you next time.